Hi, everybody. Welcome to Spiral Society. I'm T.
I'm Adriana. What is up?
Hey, buttholes. I'm Alec.
I love it. It is who we are.
Okay, so today we are talking about what do one of the most iconic horror movies of all time, The Shining, and one of mankind's greatest, or maybe mankind's greatest achievement, landing on the moon, have in common. Let's start here. Do you guys think we actually landed on the moon? Like, do you think July 16th, 1969, men put their fucking feet on that moon? I say no.
No, absolutely not.
I say 50-50. I have questions, but I believe in some things. I don't believe in other things. So
Okay.
conflicted
Okay.
for the most
What
part.
are the some things and what are the other things?
So I could. Okay, let's start here. I don't know shit. I don't understand how the science, rocket science works. Nothing. But I did my research. Am I gonna claim that my research is enough to be like, yo, motherfuckers are lying? No. Even though I want to, I'm not gonna. So I'm gonna try to remain like balanced and be like, okay, so I can see how they did it, but I have hard time believing they actually recorded it. So I am conflicted here. I think there's some fake footage that is showed to the public. Yeah.
For
You're
me
not
is
rocket science? You're not a rocket scientist? Oh
you're
my,
not? Oh no.
Fuck, I was lying to y'all
we've been
for
fooled.
for months now, and my cover is blown. Shit.
Wow. Wow. For me is the fact that they stopped and after what, six trips? Six trips in 1972 and never again. And there's just a lot of questions. I have questions about the legitimacy of it all, being that we have all these images that we can look at and kind of like, you know, break them down and try to make sense of them. And they don't really make sense to me. So I'm not convinced at all.
No. In 1969, most people didn't even have color TVs in their home. Um, no one had a computer in their home. Like that wasn't a thing. No cell phones. No fucking nothing. And you're telling me they had the technology to put men on the moon in 1969? No.
It's the everything looks so flimsy. Flimsy?
Flimsy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just unacceptable to me. It
Actually,
really is.
speaking of those times, Adriana, can you actually tell us more about those times?
Well, when I was a child,
Having my pet dinosaur.
every time, every time, every time. But no, I think what you're saying is true, dude. It was just so much easier to fool people back then. So much easier. The magic of TV didn't really exist to the public. And I think that's a very important part of this, the whole production, I call it a production because it feels like a production. And there's no proof that I've been able to look up that will be like, this could be factual. So the technology has advanced so much for the benefit of it all. And I don't think they were expecting for people to be able to go back 50 years and look at these images and question everything. Because let's be for real, even the quality of the pictures, they're better than Britney's pictures. I'm just gonna leave it at that. That's enough said.
Neil Armstrong didn't take his potato phone to the moon?
Clearly not. Clearly.
You see, the reason that I'm gonna still say that I could believe that happened, because if it didn't, that means it's a whole big ass worldwide conspiracy. Because, like, we can question NASA, we can question US intentions, because obviously back in the day, they were trying to, like, literally get their panties in a bunch to kick USSR's ass. So they could have done whatever needed to be done. But there's been a lot of independent, like, countries and things and people who verified that it actually did happen. Japan released a picture of like the landing of Apollo. India did too, and they like confirmed that that happened. So if that didn't happen, that means like they're fucking with us all big time. which is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but is everybody in it? Is all of these nations in it? We don't know. And I firmly believe they keep secrets from us peasants, and they do have, treaties and secrecy, and I'll give you this, you give me that, I'll cover your back, you cover mine. It doesn't that fact doesn't convince me. And the truth is that we're never gonna go to the fucking space. We're not gonna go to space. We're never gonna know. Because neither of us is gonna go to the moon. So how do
You
we
mean
prove
like the
it?
three of us specifically?
Yes. Yes.
I
Shoot
mean,
for the stars, baby. I might go
Baby.
to space
knows?
one day.
The majority of the people are never gonna make it, and it's so fucking easy for them to say something's there when it's not. I don't know. Call me crazy.
If I do get a chance to go to the moon, I actually will have a mission. And my mission is to recover Neil's Armstrong poop bag because
Is what? I'm sorry? Excuse me?
so for so
What?
since the little spaceship tinfoil looking thingy couldn't carry a lot of weight, they had to unload something allegedly, and that's what they told us before bringing some whatever moon dust, whatever the fuck you call that. So they had to unload their stuff, and the parts that they unloaded were actually they're like poop baggies because like if you had to go back then, you had to use it like a baggie that goes around your donut. So like it suction cup to it and you did your business. And since it was like heavy, apparently, they had to leave it like behind.
Like,
So yeah.
is there a turd floating in space, or is there a turd on the
So
moon?
since there's apparently a gravity that
So
moon still
confused.
has, it's not like flying in space, but it's
How? The
because of the
moon has no
gravity of the
gravity.
moon, it's there apparently.
Oh my
So
God.
my scientific curiosity will be like, oh, let's see if, some bacterias grew a different life out of his doo-doo.
Okay, so I didn't expect the conversation to go in this direction, but while we're having it, how are you going to tell me that the moon's gravity can't even keep the men footed to the ground, but a piece of shit is still there?
They probably put a steak on it. Is it a steak? That sounds like meat.
Like a vampire? They
Yes.
drove a stake through it?
Yes. Yes. I mean,
Well,
I'm disgusted. That's how nasty humans are. That's why aliens probably don't want us. You left a turd on the moon? Who does that? I've never heard of this before. This is
you
truly
guys,
my
like, that's a piece of my research that I didn't share because I found it literally like 30 minutes before we joined this conversation. And I was like, you know what? It
No.
is so good that I'm gonna just like literally
I hope
throw it on you.
I hope you put a little fucking article picture, because I cannot believe there's a fucking
Yeah.
turd on the moon. I'm getting past this. I I can't get over it. I can't get over it. I was gonna start, talking serious shit. Like, this conspiracy started 50 years ago. People for 50 years have been contemplating the fact that this is possibly the biggest hoax in history. And now I have to worry about
A
a
turd.
turd left behind.
Come
Like,
to find out, for 50 years, there's been shit on
yeah,
the moon.
yeah. Oh
That also it could
no.
have cultivated and grow a whole fucking life because there's bacteria, there's stuff, but like,
Oh,
but
I
fine,
have
I'm
so many
gonna.
questions. I have questions,
Well, you
but
know what? Buzz Aldrin is still alive, so if you have questions, maybe we can contact him.
yeah, then we're gonna end up chasing him. I'm gonna chase him like, what's his name? Bart?
Bart Brown.
Yeah, I'm gonna chase him down, and I'm gonna make him swear on the Bible that he left a turd on the moon.
He's gonna knock your ass out too, just like he did Bart Brown.
Oh my God. No, but seriously, going back to that, this man, repeat his name, please.
Bart Brown.
Yes. He's a journalist, and he is very intelligent, and he actually worked in a lot of good networks, and he had all of these conspiracies.
He is still stuck on a turd.
I am, because I'm just thinking about the moon with the American flag in it and a
And
piece
then
of shit.
next to it. It's fucking accurate. Fucking accurate.
I know, what a representation, right?
Right?
I can't get over it. I really I need to see proof. I expect it. I expect it posted here somewhere.
I swear to God,
losing it.
guys. I did not make this up as we just started the conversation. I literally saw it in like in news and articles that was
I
apparently
did
factual.
so much research.
I gotta get it together.
I've always had I've always had questions, but I did do a lot of research, to be prepared with names and dates mostly, which I can't remember any of
Clearly
them
not
either
as
way.
much
not
research
turds.
as Alex.
No, I never got to the turd. That should be a whole conspiracy on its own. Did Ben leave a turd on the moon? I'm starting it today.
That would prove
Today.
it, though. That would prove it. You know what? If you want to prove all the conspiracy theorists wrong and that we actually did go to the moon, take a
Bring
picture
back
with
the
a piece
turd.
of shit,
Yeah.
get a
Yeah.
DNA sample, tie it back to Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, and everyone be like, okay, I guess we were there. They shit on the
Oh
moon.
my God. That would be actually, you know what? That is the only proof that I need. That is the one thing that will prove to me that this actually happened. Where's the turd? Hashtag
So
subreddit.
we should rename this episode instead of saying did we land on the moon? Did we shit on the
Did we
moon?
shit on the moon?
I have so many questions. I can go on a tangent on this one. I don't know if you guys want me to derail, but is it in a bag? Is the bag like
Apparently.
it-
Apparently they
it's
had
been
like a
50
bag
years?
tied
Is it
around the anus and like they did their business in the spaceship. Not actually, they did not get off the spaceship
yes.
and like shot
Yes.
on the moon physically. They did do their business
Of
on the
course.
spaceship in a little airtight baggie. Then they tied it, and since it was heavy, apparently they
How
just
heavy
couldn't
can
take
it
it.
be?
I
Well,
don't
they're
know.
eating fucking dried foods.
Yeah.
That shit was spiky. I'm worried it broke the bag.
But you see, like, besides the turd, because I said I'm 50-50, besides the turd, I have more questions. I have, I have a lot of questions, and I know you guys
Where
too.
the
So
stars? There's no stars. First of all, let's be real. So talking about Bird, he had a lot of questions. He confronted Buzz and he got punched in the face with reason. Okay, with
He
reason.
deserved it.
Roll
Sorry.
roll the fucking clip.
Kettle black, if I ever thought of it. Saying I
Will you
misrepresented
get away
myself?
from me?
You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
Yes, he did deserve the punch, but also he's been following the truth. And I can understand the frustration that he must be feeling because, there's a lot of inconsistencies and no one is giving him a straight answer. So, but like, for example, there's no actual pictures of Earth from NASA. Everything is digitally made.
Yeah.
Why? How can anyone explain this?
And the no stars. Where
No
are the stars? You go to space, you take a picture. None of these pictures have fucking stars in them. In 1969, they didn't. They're walking on the moon, and there's not one goddamn star in the sky. And you like some fucking scientist is gonna be in my DMs trying to explain this bullshit to me. You can suck my dick. You
Yeah.
cannot tell me that you're in space and there's no fucking stars.
Yeah. I've read a lot of explanations. I showed you guys the picture of my friend that could be used here. I'm not gonna ask for permission. I'll ask for forgiveness later. But if you can see this amount of stars from Earth is a long exposure.
well, that's the
Camera?
thing. I was about to say, like, it's not necessarily the camera that has the feature of long exposure. Any camera could have done that back in the day. It doesn't matter what lens you have, as long as like you can control the exposure, you can set it on a longer exposure. That's why that smaller sources of light will let in more light. And this is how camera captures the star from Earth. If you take your phone right now, like a 2024, you have a freaking fancy iPhone, go take a picture of the sky right now at night. You won't see much. But if you put it on a tripod, set it on a longer exposure, you'll be able to see a beautiful sky. So
course.
their explanation that back in the day, they did not have the ability to do like a long exposure shot to capture the stars.
Till this day, anything they post.
Do you hear what you're saying right now? They did not have the ability to do long exposure to capture stars in the sky in space, but they had the ability to build a fucking rocket ship that blasted through radiation and put men on the moon.
And leave a turd behind.
It's not necessarily the ability. It's just like if they
Make
took
it
the
make
long,
sense.
let's say like once again, just give me benefit of the doubt. Like I'm trying to like explain it and believe it myself what I'm saying. I'm not really fully believing it, but what they were saying that like, since like for long exposure, you need to stand fully still as an object, as a person, to like not be blurry and have the stars behind you. They were not able to do that, and they just didn't do like long exposure shots, I guess.
Listen, I actually searched for these explanations many years ago. I've seen explanations about the atmosphere being different, and that's why you can't see them. I've seen that the moon is too bright. My eye is twitching as I say this. That the moon is too bright, and it's like being in daylight, and that's why you can't see them. But you're fucking not. It's black around you. You cannot convince me. And besides, if they had one answer that would explain everything, because we're not scientists, we don't know, really. We don't know the factual explanation. But the answers keep changing, and I just don't buy it. And let's say that back then they didn't have that technology and they took Britney Spears' phones. That's fine. But the truth is that we're in 2024 and they've gone to space since then, and no pictures show stars. I feel that they had to keep up this lie. I don't know. You know that you can pinpoint a specific location by the stars. So maybe
Right.
that's why they did it, because they would have known. We would have known that we're lying about the moon landing if you would have seen stars, and you can fucking tell that it's from Earth.
But they also said it was during the daytime, allegedly, that they like landed during the daytime.
Yes.
That's why there was no stars. That's the part that I'm struggling to comprehend, honestly.
But daytime just means that the moon is lit by the sun. But there's no atmosphere there as it is on Earth.
Yeah, it's like
It's
vacuum.
everything's pitch black. Where are the fucking planets? Where are the stars? The billions of stars. None of them.
Wouldn't
I- it
daytime
just-
be daytime is an Earth term? Isn't that relative to where you are on planet Earth? That makes it daytime. When you're in space, you're in space. Like
Yeah.
you're not in daytime,
Oh.
nighttime, anything. You're
I guess it still matters
in the void.
at which spot on the moon they were in relevance to the sun, I guess. And apparently the only source of light was the sun, to my understanding, when they landed.
Yes, it is the only source. It's the only source
Yeah.
of light. And that comes the pictures with the, different points of with the shadows, with having parallel shadows and everything like this. There's just so many inconsistencies. And we're not gonna sit here and pretend that we understand this shit. These
True, also
questions that we
true.
have are legitimate though. Like the sun is the only source of light. They have multiple shadows and pictures here. They had, they call it daytime just because it's the bright side of the moon. But it's not, and they were trying to say that it's so bright that you will have to, use protection, like, snow blindness. It is
Uh-huh.
so reflective that it can blind you. But when you see the pictures, it looks dark as shit. It
Yeah.
has a little bit of light, but it's dark as shit. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Like
what other
Stage lighting.
things? What other things you guys?
Well, other things. Let's just talk about how, because all this to me sounds like NASA making shit up as they go along. So let's talk about NASA, and let's talk about some of the wild shit that they have said since, because I always think it's baffling to me, mind-boggling,
Mhm.
that they lost all the data and destroyed the technology that it took to get us to the moon. Like, why would you do that? That makes no sense.
Destroyed. That is the key word. Destroyed.
NASA said this. This is a quote from a
Yep.
NASA space engineer.
Right here, right
Okay.
here.
The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
So
hear
what do
you.
you think?
How and why?
I hear you on the destroying part, and the fact that they like lost it, destroyed it, that's sus as fuck, just by definition. I do understand why the technology does not exist anymore, because there's no more funding, and they stopped the funding back in 70s, like 72. So all the factories that were producing this shit and all the people that were working on it did not have money to continue doing this. And now, since the technology like advanced so much, it would make no sense to do it in an old way. But since that there's no funding as of recently, they didn't really like invest enough money to develop the technology to go to the moon again. Theoretically.
I can understand the funding, even though we're throwing away around the world as we speak. But You're going to tell me that you purposely are going to destroy the vehicle that took you, the first men to the moon. This is an achievement, right? It is. Nobody has been able to replicate this.
It should be in a
Except-
museum. if anything.
Exactly. Why would you destroy it? Why? It doesn't make any sense to me. I call bullshit all day long. All
Yeah.
day long.
I hear you. That's why, like, yeah, that's why I'm 50-50. I'm not telling you I believe it or not, because the fact that it's destroyed or disappeared or lost, that's fucking sauce. Like, that just makes no sense. But some aspects do, some don't, but that's why I have questions.
Yeah.
But also, let's say, okay, fine. We know that, like, they had a reason to fake it because they wanted to show the superiority over USSR. So that's
Mhm.
why, since they, let's say, hypothetically couldn't do it, actually, since the filmmaking in US was so much better than anywhere in the world, they were like, well, shit, we can do great movies. So, maybe we should do it as a movie. And since there were not that many people back there who could have done it, whose name comes to your mind, T?
Stanley Kubrick. He could have done it. He did 2001: A Space Odyssey. Just a year prior to that, it was a masterpiece. It was ahead of its time with special effects, and in that movie, men were in space, and it was the most legit looking movie that anyone had ever seen at the time. And he was, the most famous filmmaker at the time. So if anyone was going to do it, Stanley Kubrick was going to do it.
Yeah.
We seen him hanging out with members of NASA.
Mhm.
His top advisor for 2001: A Space Odyssey was a member of NASA. Like
Yeah.
he was cool with them. He was friends with them. So it's not outside of the realm of possibility that someone said, "Hey Stanley, we got a
Yeah.
gig for you."
Yeah. And also, Disney tried to make a space movie before Kubrick. I don't remember the name right now. I will have it obviously to show here. But they tried to make a movie and it was so crappy. And I do think that they were exploring this idea. Okay. Disney was very much involved with Masonry, and even the leader or founder of Scientology, which I don't know if you know, but they do have like this belief that we have dictator enemy in space called Xenu, I believe. So they
oh Jesus, they're a whole
Yeah,
nother
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
topic.
So
Those
they have been
nuts.
into the whole space situation forever. So Disney makes a movie, it's a failure because obviously it's not good at all. But I believe they keep searching, and that's when they find Kubrick, because Kubrick's movie to this day, Space Odyssey, what is it called? Space Odyssey? A Space Odyssey?
2001: A Space Odyssey.
It is visually so appealing that you could believe that it was made 10 years ago. It's so great.
Yeah.
And
Well,
this is where this conspiracies begin.
but also there's a lot of other things that point to, because many people suggested that The Shining was actually Kubrick's confession that he
Yes.
did it, and it's not literally people talking out their asses fully, like realistically. Even though if I'm not like on board with this conspiracy, I can see why people would say that.
Well, I think we need to rewind a little bit and talk about Gene Gilmore and Gene Gilmore's father, Cyrus Akers. Why they have two different last names, I don't know. Don't ask me, ask them. But Gene Gilmore's father, Cyrus Akers, confessed on his deathbed that he saw it all go down. He saw Stanley Kubrick filming the moon landing because he was in the Air Force at the time at the base where they filmed it. What was it? Cannon Air Force
Cannon
Base?
Air Force Base in New Mexico, yes.
And he was tasked with standing guard and making sure that no one entered while Stanley Kubrick was filming this. So that was his deathbed confession. Many years later, after Cyrus died, his son, Gene Gilmore, came forward and gave his deathbed confession, which was his father's confession. Then he passed away. But basically, he confirmed that, yeah, this went down. My father watched it all. He was standing guard while it happened. And they, according to Gene, they had his father's name scrubbed from like
Oh, yeah.
the Air Force records and everything
Mhm.
just to conceal this secret. So then all these years later, in 1980, we get The Shining. The Shining is originally a novel by Stephen King. Stephen King, one could argue, is the greatest horror novelist
Absolutely.
of all time. And Stanley Kubrick took Stephen King's masterpiece, shit on it, and made it into his own masterpiece. And The Shining is the most iconic horror movie of all time. And when you think of The Shining, you think of the movie.
Yeah.
But there's so many Easter eggs in there that point
So
you in the
many?
direction of the moon.
So many. So many.
Which
Starting
one's
with
your
the
favorite?
fact, oof. UT, what's your favorite?
Um, If I had to pick a favorite one, I think it's maybe the most obvious one, which is Danny Torrance, the main character, the little boy, and not only is he the one who has the gift in the movie, he has the shining.
Mm-hmm.
He's wearing a fucking Apollo 11 knitted sweatshirt. Like, it's right there in your face.
And but it's not only that. I feel like, and we have to specify in case somebody watching does not know this. Stanley Kubrick was a genius, not only in the sense of the word of saying he was brilliant making movies. He was a literal genius. His IQ was of 200, and he loved putting imagery in his movies and hidden Easter eggs and little things in all of his movies that you can research. And I feel like the whole scene that you're referring to, T, is the hexagon padding on the floor, that the little ball that, Jack Nicholson throws in one scene and he ends up rolling towards Danny. It looks like the pad where the Apollo rockets were. And then the scene changes rapidly. Like it was there for a second for a purpose to look like that. And then when he rises, it's like the Apollo literally rising. Like, and then he goes to room 237, right? 237?
237.
It's a whole bunch of things.
237 is another Easter egg. 237 was not in the book. Room 237 in the book was room 217. Why Kubrick felt the need to change a room number that seems very insignificant, like why change that? Well, because the moon is 237,000 miles from the Earth. So 217 became 237.
But you see, to balance that, allegedly, according to Kubrick, official version apparently states that the hotel just didn't want to, film it in room 217 because people would be freaked out to stay there, and that's why they changed it to room 237. But the fun part is, there a room 217 even in the hotel?
No, it was proven that not at
Mhm.
all, not at all. Also, if we want to talk a little bit more about all of the some of the differences between the book or the novel and the movie, it's just very telling. For example, we know that The Shining, the novel, when King writes this, it's about his alcoholism and his battles with these demons, right? And it takes a very different direction when Kubrick represents this movie, which we know that sometimes movies are different than books, and that's fine. But the differences here is like every time he deviates from the subjects of the novel, it leads you directly into these questions. For example, I mean, the typewriter. Tell me what the typewriter says, because I don't have good memory.
All work, no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Yes, and then the first three letters on this paper is 811, which is Apollo 11. Then you have a whole sequence of things like the behavior that he exposes. Like Danny, for me, it is, Kubrick's inner child, his innocence, the part of it that, gets lost with this work that he decides to do. And then is the whole conflicting idea of when his wife finds out what he did, and this whole mess. It's just so much for me. And there's a lot of deviations from the book that lead you in the direction of having this conspiracy be true.
But there's also like many levels to The Shining, because you can also look at it from different perspective. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but the Overlook Hotel was built on the Native American burial ground. And there's also like some music that you can hear in the intro or the credits that represent that. But some people suggested that the Overlook Hotel, and I think Adriana, you had a good point on this when we talked privately, that it's a representation of USA.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In fact, that's another point. Sorry, T. That's another point on the book that it differs from the movie is that in the novel, um, tell me the name of the character of Jack Nicholson, please.
Jack Torrance.
Jack Torrance, he has to take this job at the hotel because of need. He has to take the job. In the movie, he takes this opportunity to be able to write this book alone. No one's going to be in the hotel. He's not working for this. He's actually kind of helping the hotel. And in the whole scene where the owner of the hotel talks to him, it is like it seems as if it's Kennedy that has an eagle in the background, and he's telling him like, you have to take care of this place, like you have to keep it up. It's just a lot of little things that I choose to believe them. I know that people say there might be coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidences at all.
A big focal point when they walk into the hotel, this just reminded me, talking about that, is the American flag and the eagle. And that's allegedly representative of not only the US, but Buzz Aldrin. Because, and then the twins, the Grady sisters, the Grady twins, the creepy little girls, were not twins in the book. And that's also supposed to be representative of Buzz Aldrin, because Buzz Aldrin was the captain of other space missions besides Apollo 11, one of which was the Eagle, and another one was Gemini. So the twins are supposed to represent that.
Yeah, I didn't know that one. See?
I always like thought about how salty Buzz probably felt all this time. Because imagine like you're literally allegedly the first person going to the moon, and then Neil goes first, and you just look at his butthole when you when you land second. Like, this man might have been pissed that he was second. Because back in my day, when they taught us this in Europe, I don't think that Buzz came up much, to be honest. It was always Neil Armstrong. I think I just learned Buzz's name not that long ago here.
Well, Neil gets the credit for being the first man to actually step foot on the moon. But I think media-wise and personality-wise, Buzz Aldrin has a bit more, you know, pizzazz and character. So he always gets a lot of like airtime because he's more fun to talk to, I guess.
Because he's alive still.
He's fucked up in interviews. He's fucked up in interviews. Have you guys seen that interview where the little girl, an 8-year-old, I believe, asked him, why haven't we gone back to the moon? And he says, because we didn't.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh,
because we never did. Because we never did. That's what he said.
I mean, what?
Like, why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting older.
Get it together, Buzz.
Can he have his deathbed? Is that right?
You did it!
Yes, go girl. You did it.
Deathbed confession.
Tell everyone how hard that phrase is for you.
I can't say that, and I'm gonna try again. Deathbed confession. Fuck off. I hate it. All my mouth wants to say for real is Bed Bath and Beyond. I can't get over it. I practice this word.
That's Beth.
It's bad. But yes, I need Buzz to say something before he dies.
I don't know if he will though. Like, this is his,
I don't know,
fake or not, this is his greatest achievement in life.
It's true.
I don't think he will ever say anything unless he completely loses his goddamn mind. But I don't think so. They'll probably kill him before he has a chance to.
Listen, we already had Kubrick's alleged interview that we all, 3 of us, talked for days and believed it was actual, and we spiraled the fuck on that interview. And then we realized it was fake. So I don't know if I'll believe any more interviews or like deathbed confessions until.
Yeah, so we have that interview. There's an interview going online that is supposedly Kubrick telling his side of the story and confessing to this to an independent journalist, and we did spiral a lot. And finally, my sister sends me this video, and she's like, I think you're going in the wrong direction. And the fucking video has the unedited version that we can play right now. And that is an actor named Tom, as you can hear it. And it broke my heart, but also it's great because nothing better to know the truth. I'm glad that's out of the way because I did kind of believe it. I was like 90% sure that was factual.
Well, we based
Well,
all of our
because
conversations on this. Yeah.
the part that they circulate online is, I guess, like the beginning part, and it is very
Mhm.
believable. And whoever the fuck Tom is, he's a great actor. I'll say that much for him. And then the part that they chop and like erased from the internet is the part where the guy interviewing Stanley Kubrick fucks up and calls him Tom instead of calling him Stanley or Mr. Kubrick or whatever. So
He's literally guiding him in what to say. It's
yeah,
just, and that is a problem for me with theories, conspiracy theories, whatever you call them, because there's always going to be people to try to discredit things that have a lot of truth to it, and then the rest of the things look crazy. Like if you
yes.
question this in a university, you're going to, or in school, you're going to get called crazy, conspiracy theories. But the truth is that there's always truth in the middle, in the balance of the hysteria and what we're being told. There's always truth in the middle, and that was a fuck up because they ruined a moment with this lies.
I have always questioned it, even in school. For the record, I went to Catholic school. We did learn about the moon landing. I questioned that. I question many other things as it pertains to Catholic school. I was not very popular, but I was always the one to be like, how are you going to sit there and look me in my fucking face and tell me this bullshit? Like, stop.
Good. I never questioned it until I came here. It wasn't really a big deal. They told me a man landed on the moon, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's great. It
Yeah,
wasn't
I don't
until
think. Same here.
did you have a lot of lessons there? Well, depending.
Well,
It's-
back in Europe, they mostly focused on the achievements of USSR because when I went to school, USSR just fell apart. So we did not really talk much about achievements of the US because the school system still, even though it was
Of
already independent
course.
Ukraine, it was still basing the system on USSR because, it took time to change. So they were mostly focusing on the first man going to space that was USSR. The USSR is so awesome because they beat US ass, and that was the thing. So they briefly covered moon landing, and that's why I said that they only talked about Neil Armstrong. So, but I started questioning it maybe like 12, 20 years later. I never questioned it back in the day like T did. So here we are
No,
now.
me neither. I think I've told you guys plenty times. 2015 was the moment when I started actually going into rabbit holes, and I didn't think about the moon landing until I got to the Masonic Temple and Disney, and that led me to the moon landing. And then that rabbit hole has led me here to Stanley Kubrick because it is insane. But we can talk about a little bit more about Kubrick now because there's a lot of things in his life that I don't know. I feel like he was naive when he decided to help. I feel that every astronaut was possibly, I don't think they agreed to lie to the nation with the sole purpose of lying. I think that maybe they were distracted and they were told, we're gonna make this, but we have to do this because we are, in a battle with the USSR, and we have to be the first, but we're gonna make it. We just can't do it right now. But I mean, they even tested the takeoffs very minimal times. Even the Boeing 747s, 100 times they had to test them before they were actually able to take off. And the fucking rover that take the Apollo 11, within like the first try, it's successful. So I don't know. I feel like everybody was fooled, and some people were willing to do this, but I think that Kubrick at the end, had some regrets of this lack of integrity that he presented by choosing to do this. And that's why he tried to put it everywhere.
I don't think a lot of people had a choice, which is why I said, like, I think Bart Cyberill deserved the punch he got because I don't think Buzz Aldrin necessarily had a choice. They told him this is what
Yeah.
you're gonna do, and that's what he did. And I don't condone harassing him and
Of
stalking him
course.
and following him around and asking him to swear on Bibles and all this shit.
And he's a Christian man. He wasn't gonna swear on a lie. He wasn't gonna swear on a lie. And harassing him like that, and he deserves respect regardless, because ultimately it wasn't his choice to do this.
He's
It
not
really
going to swear
wasn't.
on the Bible because if some nut is running around asking someone to swear on a Bible who's a complete fucking stranger, I'm not going to do it either.
Yeah.
But you see, at the same time, did you guys see that press conference the astronauts did after the moon landing? Those people were so out of it. They were so confused and like they looked like they were full of shit. So that's when, I'm leaning towards possibility that it's bullshit because they were just like out of it. And another possibility is like, did they actually go and see something fucking scary and creepy and possible other life or some creepy shit, and that's why they never went back? Is that also a chance, a possibility that there's something scary in there? That's why they didn't go back ever, and they were so fully confused when they gave that speech and that press conference after they came back.
Yeah, Neil Armstrong's bag of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That developed
Exactly.
into the new world. Cultivated all the
I
bacteria.
I can't believe that. Are we gonna go back to that? Because there's a turd on the moon. I
Several.
Yeah, apparently.
What the fuck
Damn.
is the other guy's name? Did he shit on the moon too? What was it? Michael Collins?
The third
I
one,
don't
yeah, who
remember.
was just being a creep and watching
What
from the
was it?
side.
The third astronaut that no one gives a shit about? What's his name?
It sucks to be
Collins?
him.
Something Collins, no?
Michael Collins? Collins?
Mm,
Possibly. Let's say yes. And if not, correction right here.
yeah, text
I don't know.
correcting us.
I
Some were
don't know.
floating on the screen.
I don't know. But I thought that, Alec. Well, they are looking rough because they obviously went to the moon. It's got to be hard. These people are confused and all that, but maybe they were just anxious
The
because when you have
radiation
to
maybe
sit
kicked
down,
in.
oh my God, can we not? So I need to say this. I wrote down numbers because I needed to make this clear. The radiation belt, okay, it extends from 1,000 to 25,000 miles outside the orbit, the low orbit. The low orbit starts from 99 miles to 1,200 miles. There is
Okay.
1,000.
dozens of videos of people from NASA, all the way from NASA to President Barack Obama, saying that they're trying to develop technology to go past the low orbit. So the moon, how did they make it? How do they make it if they can only stay in low orbit? Besides that, the radiation belt can kill you, can cook you. And this is where we bring back do you know that I hate that little spaceship? I fucking hate it. Like the way that it looks like a joke. I feel insulted personally. Personally.
Did you
With
see
the
it?
tinfoil?
Did you see it
Oh,
under the tinfoil? Because that's a thing. Like, if you look at it wrapped in a tinfoil, it does look like a baked potato. I'm not gonna lie. But if you
yes.
unwrap the baked potato and check out how it was actually built, it looks more promising. It looks less flimsy. They apparently did it to cover the little spaceship with the foil as a blanket to protect them inside from all the impact outside. I know it sounds
Yes.
crazy as I'm saying this, but
But like not even the wind,
me
that could have not been withstand by even the speed that this thing was going.
for a good grill.
My God, like be careful with your, no, I just don't buy it at all whatsoever. The pictures they're not even deceiving. They're just not great.
I'm
The
gonna go
movie,
wrap my car in tinfoil just in case I get in an accident.
good idea. Good idea. They were supposed to use lead. Lead was too heavy. Then they decide, okay, well, let's use this. I have a little bit left over from the grill that I did last week.
A post-it
So
note.
let's just put this. Well, this it's thicker. I'll tell you that. It's thicker than the one they used. And then this shit's gonna shoot through fucking space, go through fucking radiation, and it's intact. It's even like perfectly clean and perfect. There's no dust lifted on the landing pads.
But
Give
you
me
see,
a
that's why they
fucking
couldn't
bullet.
bring the turd back, because it was not like capable
It
of
was too
bringing enough
heavy.
stuff.
If they couldn't have lead, they couldn't have shit, obviously.
Well, because they brought the moon dust back, and they also apparently gave it to different countries for research. There's been a lot of independent people and countries who did that research and said that, yeah, that's legit. I wish it was a
That's the only
turd that
thing.
everybody did a research on, but it is
Did
what
you
it
read
is.
about that, T?
About what?
That is the one piece of
Moon dust?
information. The rocks and the things that they brought back. So that is the one piece of information that I wasn't able to debunk in any capacity, because people and scientists all over the world, like Alex says, they did say this is definitely, you know, from somewhere else. But also, have you guys forgotten about Antarctica?
I was just gonna
Those-
say that. Like, go to the North Pole, get some shit. No one ain't ever touched that shit, because who would want
Never.
to? Santa
No,
Claus.
You can't. It's
No.
illegal. It's illegal.
That's true, but also even if U.S. government, you don't care about illegal, you just could go there and do shit. I don't think because of the temperatures and all the ice, to my understanding, you could have dug that deep to get out some dust to bring and some rocks to bring.
I don't believe it.
We could put men on the moon, but we can't dig in fucking snow. Get out of here.
No.
Fair
no.
point, fine.
And
fine,
we the
fine.
peasants, again, it's always the peasants. It's us who can go to Antarctica. It's us. They do missions there. They secretly go. You can't even fly. If you have a private jet, or you can't even fly near, because you're gonna get fucking F-22s or F-16s. I don't know. And they try to shoot you down. You gotta leave. Why? What can I see there that you can? Are there the fucking rocks are there? And what is it? Is it giants? Is there another land?
I think Antarctica has
Yeah,
deeper
that's another
secrets
another
than
episode, because we're
than
gonna
just
fucking
the moon
derail.
landing. Yeah. But I'm still stuck on this moon landing because it's a very fascinating, there's a lot of conspiracy theories. They all excite us. They all want us to make believe that we did some research and found out something that's, other people are not getting. So moon landing is one of the most fascinating ones. But I still, after talking to you guys, after doing research, I can still not come to the conclusion and be like, okay, I firmly believe of this or that. Convince
Oh
me,
my gosh.
bitches.
No,
You were
it's
trying to, so throw some facts at me more. Throw me some more conspiracy in my face and convince me. I'm ready
okay.
to absorb it.
Okay. How about the cinematic technique that they use, the screen projections? This is something that you guys can go to Apollo Archive, apolloarchives.com, and you can look at these pictures for yourself. The independent research. Don't let any conspiracy theorists show you anything. In these archives, you're going to see all of these pictures, and there's always the same backdrop. There's even this technique is used where you put a reflection, a projector, and then there's a reflection, and then you can put people in between, and you can try to, on the edge of the screen, you put rocks on or something to make it seem like it is real. So this happens in every single picture. And also you have pictures where it says, okay, we're in one location and this is the other. And you have the pictures that come together. How do you call this? They overlap
Overlap?
them.
Overlap,
Mhm.
They
yeah.
overlap them, and it's the same exact background.
Well, that brings us back to Stanley Kubrick, because in 2001: A Space Odyssey, that's what made him world renowned, I guess you can say, for the technique and the imagery he used was the front screen projection. And that's part of the reason it looks so real. And that's part of the reason why I believe NASA was like, ooh, I like that. That looks
Yeah.
great. Let's
You can
do that.
You can see those techniques from the movie that look incredible. You can see them in the archives that I'm telling you to.
One of his camera lenses, Stanley Kubrick has a camera lens, or had a camera lens, that no one else in the world has, because it was gifted to him from NASA. And it was like a super duper bajillion-dollar lens. I don't even know all the special shit it does. But what fucking movie director has a crazy lens from NASA?
I don't know, but the lens wasn't so fucking good because it couldn't take pictures of the fucking stars.
Because that's exposure. That's not a lens. You can
Give a
literally
shit.
take the best lens in the world, and that's
I
not
don't
going to affect
care.
exposure. But let's say this: I don't question. Okay, fine. I question less the possibility of involvement of Kubrick and the footage being fake. I question that last because in my mind, I do not see how they were able to take fucking film to the moon, go through the radiation belt, don't get that shit fried fully and get themselves fried too, but whatever, and
The
film it.
tinfoil, it saved it all.
So
That
the
tinfoil.
tinfoil saved them, let's say hypothetically, and they, even in those like conditions, when you're filming something, different light source would not be that easy to adjust the camera to film it. So I don't believe they were able to film it.
Well, shit. Okay.
But
Could
tell me how you
we-
feel first.
Could we break
Boom.
for a minute? Could we break for a minute?
Yep.
I need to break.
Yep.
It always happens at the worst time. A sudden attack of diarrhea. And you give anything to get back in control.
So we have this master filmmaker who worked on 2001 A Space Odyssey with this special technique of this front screen projection. He has this magical camera lens that was gifted to him from NASA. He makes this movie where every single thing that he's showing us is not every single thing, but a lot of the single things he's showing us directly relates to Apollo 11 and the moon landing. Why wouldn't people think that Stanley Kubrick had something to do with this production? And I believe it's a production. I think it's fake as fuck. Okay.
Same.
But what if he
Same.
didn't? What if he simply didn't? He could, but the fact that he could doesn't mean he did.
There's
Huh?
more to it, though. There's more to it.
Fine.
But what if he did?
Fine.
I mean, look at the way that he died. The way that he
That's an
died
interesting one.
is-
Yep, fine.
We've been told that he died of a heart attack, but this happened 6 days, 6 or 5 days after he showed the unedited film Eyes Wide Shut to Warner Brothers. T, you want to tell them what this film is about? Because wow.
Eyes Wide Shut is about the dark underbelly of the elite, the dark side of Hollywood, secret societies, all the crazy shit that goes on amongst these ultra wealthy, ultra famous people.
Rothschilds. And he had a lot of power after his alleged deal with the government. He had a lot of power of doing whatever he wanted. He had funding and he had freedom to do his artistic expression in any possible way. But I think they were catching on to what he was trying to do, which was telling the truth. And you know that they don't let you do that. So
No, there's always limitations. I mean,
Mhm.
you can be drunk with power and feel like you're on top of the world and now I could do anything I want. No.
But
They'll get you.
realistically, his truth would not serve the elites. Because let's say everything we discussed today was actually the case. Everything happened. He did help them film it. Regardless, let's even say if they landed on the moon or not, there's a possibility, theoretically, that he did film it. So he could have a lot of secrets that he was hiding. So what if he decided to even spill more beans in that movie? And that's why they saw it, the OG movie, and they're like, well, fuck. We
They
gotta kill him because motherfucker talks too much now. So
they
boom,
took
boom, boom.
off, how was it? I think it was 24 whole minutes they removed from the movie. 24 minutes is a lot of airtime that we would never see. What did they remove? That is a huge question in my mind.
You see, I'm gonna
What they
balance
didn't want
out
us to
here.
see.
I'm gonna balance you all out here because there's always a director cut when it comes to a movie. Not always, but often. There's a director cut that shows an extended version of the movie that just like shows some details and aspects that some might not care about. So usually the producers or whoever puts money into it, they're like, okay, chop, 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 chop. So that could be the case too. Do
But
I
there's-
believe what I'm saying? No.
There's
No,
so
I
many
don't.
people saying that he did not want to. There's reports of people actually speaking of this because when he passed away 6 days after showing this to Warner Brothers, they were asking everybody around him, even Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise, they were in Eyes Wide Shut. Oh, was he sick? Whatever. And they there's people talking about discussions that when he showed the movie, he did not want any cuts made. He did not want his movie cut. And they cut it anyways. And to cut this movie, he had to be gone. I'm sorry. That's my firm belief.
To be clear, it wasn't 6 days after the movie was released, just so everyone out there
Right.
listening understands.
Right.
It was
True.
6 days after he handed it to Warner Brothers before the world saw it and said, here's the movie. 6 days later, dead. And if you want more evidence that Stanley Kubrick possibly filmed the moon landing, it was in his contract that the release date of Eyes Wide Shut was July 16th, 1999, exactly 30 years after Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and that other motherfucker no one knows walked on the moon.
Colin something?
The day off. That's not a coincidence to me. He was
Am
so
I-
specific.
Am I bugging or was it July 20th?
You're bugging. It was July 16th.
When they take off, it's the 20th.
Okay, makes sense. Never mind.
3 days of travel, and they come back on the 24th.
A day going through radiation and then pooping and then pooping.
How many shits do you think they took?
Probably a lot. Like, come on, if
In
it's 3
3
days and you eating dry shit, like that's gonna.
They might have been constipated.
I hold my shit for 3 days if I'm not in my toilet. I'm not gonna shit in my
Really?
pants. Fuck yeah.
Oof, I would no. I would rather.
Would you
100.
shit on the moon though?
I would rather poop on the moon than hold my shit. I
Bro,
swear to
I
God.
don't even leave my fucking dog shit on the grass downstairs, and this motherfucker's left a turd on the moon. I can't get over it. Even if it's in a doggy bag, I don't give a shit how you left it. You left a turd on the moon. This is the highlight of this episode. Thank you so much. I'm grateful to be here. My entire week from this moment forward is going to be researching the turd of the moon. I feel like I'm being pranked.
I want DNA samples. I'm not kidding. I know I know it's funny, but I want DNA. Prove this shit to me,
It's
literally.
probably a fossil now.
You can
It's
get
been
DNA from it.
50. Yeah, you probably could, but like it's 50. It's been 50 years. It's
It's
either
sealed.
cultivated into a new life on the moon, or it's a fossil.
Didn't they leave a time capsule? Maybe the shit is the time capsule. My whole life I learned they left a time capsule.
Oh my god, that was such an awkward, loud laugh. I'm so sorry.
That's how you feel. That's how I feel. That's how we feel. Turd on the moon. Turd on the moon. Let's write
Yeah.
a song. Turd on the
Well,
moon.
I think
So
that's
yeah,
the name.
I guess we're gonna have to carry a little bit over to the next episode because there's just so much to talk about, including Eyes Wide Shut and everything that leads from that. It's just a whole another rabbit hole that has nothing to do with the moon anymore. But it's just it's never ending, this rabbit hole.
No, it's not. And you know what? We will get into it because Eyes Wide Shut, it's actually the perfect movie to talk about if you want to talk about the dark underbelly of Hollywood and the dark side of the elites and all of the secret societies that come along with that, which I absolutely want to talk about.
Yes, and everything connects, and I love it.
And I want to ask you if you believe in it, but I'm going to save it for the next episode. And our next episode is coming in just 1 week from now. And you can
Yes.
find us here at the same time, same place, same group. So stay tuned, motherfuckers.
Yes. Okay, I'm fucking out. Thank you. Mwah.
Thanks for spiraling with us. Bye.
Thank you guys. Bye.